maybe grimace how quickly it did change from that brief compassion back to the same old shit. It was so I obviously wrote the book SunBurn, and for about a week the Sun were talking about this horrible tragedy, and then like within a few weeks they had like a letter section that was talking about the immigrant problem, and then a few weeks after that it was straight back to migrant crisis. Like,
why do you think they do that?
I think they think and probably know it's popular, which is a grim thing to say. That they are very good at like judging the nation's mood, and they'll go for the easy target, something that they can always talk about.
Because it's a sort of chicken and egg thing, isn't it? To my mind, it's like they push it further and they make it more prominent. Like they make it out like it's a much bigger problem than it is, just for ease, and then it just reinforces itself. It's really grim, and I hate it. Have they ever? Did they ever come after you you did your book?
No, I think I'm like too small and off their radar, really. Plus, I was like went through so many lawyers the book, so there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing that they could come after me for, really. And as a person, I'll get the occasional Sun journalist that'll be annoyed at me, like disproportionately to what I've said. But so they may have like come across it and that kind of thing. But no, thankfully, I haven't felt the full force of the Sun against me yet.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily mean like legally. I don't think the parameters of UK law necessarily. I've got to be careful what I say now. I don't think the parameters of UK law possibly trouble the Sun massively if the Leveson inquiry is to be believed. But I just wondered, like, if you've written this book that's clearly very critical of one of the UK's best-selling tabloids, I would expect them to start sort of, phoning round your old friends and girlfriends and like trying to dish the dirt on you or something.
Thankfully, I'm pretty dull. Like the most they could get me for is milk coke, and that's as vile as it is. It's not like that shocking.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like the immigrant narrative, it's sort of I get that they publish it because they know that it's a sort of spike. It's a thing that it piques the interest of people who are looking for someone to blame. If you're struggling along in a 2-bed masonette council house and you can barely afford to feed your fucking family because there's no support structures out there, I might buy into, if I was in that situation, a narrative that allows me to see a really clear good versus evil. Like it's you're trying hard for your family, but this guy's taking your fucking money. But it's the thing that puzzles me about it is these people who published this fucking comic book are not stupid. They're not dumb or ignorant. A lot of them are fucking Oxford, Cambridge grads. And that's not to put, pile a lot of adulation onto Oxford, Cambridge grads, but I'm just saying, they're all graduates. They're intelligent people, seemingly. So they must know that it's not as simple as this guy came across the channel and he was given a free house and you don't get a free house. Like that narrative is way more complex, and there's a level of responsibility there as a UK publisher that you would hope or expect someone like the Sun.
I think this is why they like focus in on the little anecdote that's horrible rather than the bigger picture and stuff like that. That's the kind of way that they justify it to themselves. And and then of course they got a lot of journalists that won't be able to make a break elsewhere and that kind of thing. That's how they justify it to themselves. Like this is still just a way to get into journalism, and then they'll move on to the better papers, that kind of thing. But
I suppose
I can kind of understand that, although I'd never do it myself. Like I did to get into journalism myself, I went down like a different kind of horrible online clickbaity type website, just writing nonsense rather than like anti-immigrant nonsense.
Right.
So just like harmless trash.
Was it BuzzFeed? Can you say who it was?
No, so much worse than BuzzFeed. Quite, like, just writing 10. Oh yeah, no, I can't. I found an article that I did the other day. I clearly had a massive attitude problem at the time because it was like five scientific problems with a new John Lewis advert.
Right.
Remember that one where there was that man on the moon? Yeah. So this is the kind of trash I was writing, like talking about how there's no chance he could breathe up there, stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, at least it's, you know,
point that I had.
At least it's geek trash. At least it's rooted in fact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine they justify it to themselves. Like, this is their only way into journalism. Then they'll move on to something better and that kind of thing. But still kind of saw this all of it.
Yeah. There's this. I forget what the name of the TV series was now. I think it was a BBC thing, and I think it was called like The Press or something along those lines. Something really simple and like sharp like that. And it was about the difference between the Guardian and the Sun. I mean, they weren't called that in the drama itself. It was, you know, I think it was called the Herald and the something or other. But it was clearly based on those two tabloids. And within this drama, there was a kid who really wanted to work at the Guardian, and through luck of the draw or a flip of a coin, he didn't get the job, and so then he went to go and work at the Sun. And I'm not suggesting for a second that that's always the case. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to work at the Sun, but I did think it was a really interesting scenario for them to dramatize that. And it's sort of obviously very similar to what you're saying. Like, a lot of these people, they do their English A level, they go and study journalism, or they go and do like English lit somewhere. And then they want to be a journalist, but they can't quite get in to the place that they would love to be writing like investigative shit. And so to pay the bills, and so they can still say, I'm a journalist, they end up working at the fucking Star, writing about some guy that's shoved. What was the big one the other week? The other week, it was like about 2 or 3 years ago, the guy saying that he was stuck in the Calais Dover lorry queues with like 1,500 inflatable asses or something. Went viral. My mates were like, oh, look at this guy, imagine having that job, stuck in a lorry, and that's what you're doing. And I'm like, it's not real, it's just fucking nonsense. What are you doing?
Honestly, I think I'd quite enjoy writing that kind of trash.
It must be nice in a way if you're a certain kind of person, not to shit on people who have gone into that work, or well, maybe to shit on them a little bit, but like, you know, there must be some level of, you know, stress relief to know that you're a journalist and you've studied hard to realize that you should get sources, and then, you know, back up your sources and try and get stats and then present it to the lawyers and make sure that it's okay to publish, and then fight, you know, there's all of this shit. It must be such a stress relief to go like, I can write any fucking thing I like today. I'm going to talk about sex asses. Yeah.